So it is BBC Radio Kent. Hello, I am Jon Holmes, and here we are. It's the Saturday before the Christmas Saturday, of course. A lot of Christmas music around. We're playing some today, certainly, but we're going to be talking to someone next who is very much, I'm going to say, at the cutting edge, at the forefront of the festive music every year. Now, the Belldrinkers. The Belldrinkers are they're quite a big group, really, because there's 58 of them. I mean, that's like So Solid crew level, that is. Musicians and non-musicians from in and around Chelsfield Village, more specifically the Five Bells pub. And Dave Griffiths from out of off of the Belldrinkers is on the phone now. Hello, Dave.
Hi there.
Merry Christmas, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. It's traditional to say that back, by the way.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Merry Christmas,
Thanks.
John.
Great. So it's all right. That's fine. Right, Dave, it's lovely to talk to you. So, look, for those that don't know, tell us all about the Belldrinkers and what happens every year.
Well, we started, there's a friend of mine in the village called Lester Barnes, who is a composer, and he writes music for cartoons. He writes all the music for Horrid Henry. He just lives up the road, and I'm a musician as well. So we met in the pub, strangely, from musicians, and we got together, and it's quite a long story, but about 3 years ago, we decided to start writing a community Christmas song and get everyone in the village involved we could, regardless of whether they had any musical talent whatsoever. Yeah. Fortunately, some of them do have a lot of musical talent, and others we can shall we say, massage to make it sound better than it actually was.
Yes. I mean, do you tell the people that need massaging that they're being massaged, or do you let them sort of bask in the ignorance of duff notes?
I think, no, I mean, it's not too bad, and actually now they practice quite a lot before they sing, and they're pretty good. No, I think if they're being massaged, they should spot that themselves, I feel.
Yes, you're right, yeah.
Yes.
We're going to play this year's song in a moment, but in terms of then, when you realise you sort of done it once, and then the idea to sort of carry it on, I mean, this is going to... And the fact there are 58 people involved as well.
Yeah, well, we started off with just quite small scale, and then because the first one worked, and people liked it and thought it was a bit of fun. And our village is it's a very close-knit community. It's very friendly, and we all know each other. And obviously, the more people hear one single, they say, can I sing on it next year? And eventually we end up with this, this is the biggest by far. I mean, 58 people we counted eventually. And it's a bigger production than previous years.
It's sort of like Band-Aid in a way, isn't it? I suppose that was a similar...
that's it. Yeah, that's right. But they were all famous.
Yeah,
none of us are famous.
No, well, you're on BBC Radio Kent, and it gets no larger than that.
It is. It's the beginning of something enormous, I feel.
Yeah.
Well, no, to be fair, we did last year. We appeared on the One Show for 3 minutes in 2016.
There you go, and that's the most random programme on television, isn't it? So.
Well, precisely. I don't know what we came after. It was something about scaffolding we followed.
Such is the One Show way. It's always the way.
There was a theme running. I'm sure. I didn't know what it was.
So, in terms of then what the pub, obviously the hub of the village, and at Christmas, then do you all sort of, all 58 people, who are featuring in this, who of course are listening right now. We know that. Is there a sort of plan to gather in the pub, and is that a kind of Christmas tradition? Is there a Christmas Eve kind of Five Bells pub thing?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people, so we tend to meet each other up throughout Christmas on various different evenings. Some of us, and I'm not mentioning names, go to the pub most nights because, frankly, if I go out of my road, if I turn left, I go to the pub. If I go right, I go to the studio and we write more songs. That's essentially it. It's very. The pub's far too close, to be quite honest. But yes, we all get together, and it is. A lot of it does centre around the pub. Although we have the church choir and indeed the vicar on it, so it's quite broad.
A singing vicar.
Yes.
I think for me that's what the classic Christmas songs have always been missing.
Exactly.
There wasn't what you might say Band-Aid are more famous, but did they have a singing vicar? No.
No, precisely. They missed a trick there.
Unless Thingy Out of the Communards was in, but I don't think he was. So I think we're fine.
But he wasn't. He wasn't a vicar at the time.
No, he wasn't. That was only later, wasn't it? Before he did Strictly and all that. Well, so and as we were saying earlier, those classic Christmas songs, and you tend to get a bit bored of them. So it's always nice to hear ones that are new and to go to the effort of coming up with a new one every year. Because Slade never did that. Did they? Lazy Slade. They just had one and just lived off that.
Yeah, they made an absolute fortune. And believe me, if we made a fortune off that, we would never record another one. As it is, it's unlikely. So we're going to carry on recording them until we're skint.
Well, we're gonna have a listen to it. This year's song, it's called Village Christmas. It's by the Belldrinkers. After that, Dave, who is on the phone, as you know, what's your knowledge of Pat Marsh like, Dave? Out of interest, of Radio Kent's Pat Marsh.
It's scant, but probably sufficient.
That's exactly the skills you're going to need. Yeah, what you've got is a quiz based on the life and work of Pat Marsh from Radio Kent. Very simple A, B, and C answers. But you'll be in good company, Dave, because Louis Spence has played this. Mike Nolan, out of off of Bucks Fizz, played it last week.
Right.
All of whom got to the top of the leaderboard, which is what you're going to be looking for. So we're going to come back after hearing your tune, and you will be playing this week's edition of Pat Marsh Master, Dave. So you've got 3 minutes to do your research. So
I will get Googling right now.
Do it. Put safe search on, otherwise you might get some really dodgy stuff. Right, the Belldrinkers and Village Christmas.
Pity us, we're poor musicians, entertainment is our mission, but everyone a Christmas song. Just forget the world, special Christmas here. Happy cheer, let's have a beer. Till next year.
Dave! Nailed it! I mean, that's the first time I heard it. I deliberately didn't listen to that until I played it on the radio. I'm glad there wasn't any swearing in it. but that's great. I really like that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. Yes,
yeah.
It was a huge amount of work.
I can tell. I mean, I'll be brutally honest with you. I wasn't expecting. I was thinking, this is just going to be... No! That is fantastic.
Yeah, mainly live musicians. All the big band are all our mates. So.
Yeah, that's great. But it's right. I'm glad people are doing this, because there are boring. The songs just get the same. They're boring. You hear them every year in the shops, don't you? And you just think, oh, come on, let's. If I hear Shaking Bloody Stevens once more. So congratulations for that. I think that's.
Thank you.
It's got number one written all over it.
Yeah, it's too late now. But
well, it is. I mean, Ed Sheeran's kind of angling his way in.
Nice sentiment, yeah.
It is. Look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to test your knowledge of Radio Kent's Pat Marsh. As you know, let's do this week's edition of Pat Marsh Master. There it is. It's the quiz pertaining to the life and work of BBC Radio Kent's legendary broadcaster, Pat Marsh. Playing today, Dave Griffiths, Chelsfield Community Christmas songster. Let's see how he does. So here's what you're going to get, Dave. You're going to get 3 questions. You're going to get A, B and C answers, mostly. You are trying to score some points, Dave, some points. If you do score some points, you go to the top of the leaderboard along with everyone else who's ever played, Dave. And that includes Louis Spence, I know. So if you're ready, we'll get straight on. Here comes question number 1. It's a film question. Film release news now, Dave. And this week saw the film release of the new Star Wars film being released. Star Wars, The Last Afternoon presenter, tells the story of the young Jedi and popular BBC Radio Kent broadcaster Pat Marsh, who develops his new abilities, channeling the Force, dueling with lightsabers, and reading out details of local jumble sales and charity events. He He seeks the guidance of John Warnett, the hermit-like breakfast presenter who is strong in the ways of a commitment to regional broadcasting. But John is wary of Pat Marsh's powers. Meanwhile, on the dark side, evil Kylo Denham is building a death show for Sunday nights on Radio Kent. But Star Wars: The Last Afternoon Presenter isn't the only radio-based blockbuster film. Name the other one, Dave. Is it A, Dominic Kingsman, The Golden Circle? Radio Kent drive time presenter Dominic King is a spy or something. Gremlin Bowles. Radio 2 travel presenter Lynn Bowles can quickly become a monster. The rules are simple. Do not feed her. Do not show her any bright lights. And definitely don't get her wet after midnight. Or is it C, Georgie Spanswick 2, Georgie Spanswick Harder?
I think I'm going to have to go for B.
Gremlin Bowles is the right answer. Very good, very strong. Okay, here's number 2. It's a history question. And it was nowhere near this day in AD 871 that the great King of Wessex, defender of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of southern England against the Vikings, and BBC Radio Kent afternoon presenter Pat Marsh the Great, repelled an invasion of a ferocious army of rival Heart presenters who arrived on the shores of Radio Kent in longboats that they'd hollowed out of Toby Anstis. A myth that King Pat Marsh the Great famously burned a pair of headphones while becoming distracted by his co-presenter Viking Erica of the North is just that, a myth. But what other mythological radio-based great leader or king is the correct answer to this question? Is it A, Robert the Ken Bruce, the genial mid-morning Radio 2 presenter who, upon sheltering from his enemies in Sally Traffic's cave, watched a spider trying to spin its web across her entrance? Is it B, King Dave Lee, the hairy cornflake of Travis, who became king by pulling his sword out of a typist at 1970s Radio 1? Or is it C, the mighty warrior Beowulf, who travelled deep into Radio Kent's Lembit Opic to kill the monster?
Oh, excuse me. They're all such good answers.
Yeah, we got to pick one.
I think I'm going to go for C. I think
Lembit Opic's monster is the right answer. Very
amazing.
good. Very good.
How do I do it?
I don't know. Very skilled. Okay, here's question 3. Now it's a music question. Have a listen to this music. The words there of BBC Radio Kent listeners on a Saturday. Now, that was, of course, Twisted Sister from 1984. Here's your unrelated question. Research by marine biologists has long proved that modern radio broadcasters such as Pat Marsh and their relatives eat, breathe and move around the studio by moving their bodies with precision. But now, fossil research indicates that ancient radio-presenting invertebrates hosted their programmes using different techniques. For instance, research indicates that Pat Marsh can move around the studio in ways that are mysterious to science. Here's your question. Name 5 famous ways. 5 famous ways.
Ways. The Appian Way.
Good.
Pete Way from UFO.
Yeah, good, very good.
No Way.
Yeah, I'll have to put a timer on it. Yeah.
Freeway.
Oh, good.
And motorway.
Oh, strong answers. Let's see what I had written on the card. Name 5 famous ways. Well, I had curds and.
Oh.
Where there's a will, there's a.
Oh.
In a manger.
Oh.
I did it my. And there's a fly in my soup. But you
obvious
did,
when you hear them.
isn't it though? It's always harder. It's always easy when you're playing along at home, isn't it? But it's harder when you're actually
when
on
you're
the radio
under pressure.
playing the quiz. Well, you did. I think you did pretty well there. I think. Just added. We've just got to tot the scores up, and I think. Remember, we're looking for some points, which puts you at the top of the leaderboard. We're just totting the points up now, and I can tell you, Dave Griffiths from the Chelsfield Community Christmas Songsters, the Belldrinkers, you got some points. Yes. Come on, Dave.
Marvellous.
Dave. Some points, Dave. Well done.
I'm overwhelmed.
I know.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Dave. That's great news. And a Merry Christmas to you, Dave.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you too.
Now you've done it right. That is Dave. That is their Christmas song, the village Christmas song there from the Chelsfield Community Christmas, choir, I'm going to call them that. Playing this week's edition of Pat Marsh Master, which of course will be back in the new year. Right, more to come. I'll tell you what's to come. Music, certainly from our live...